It is Locked On NBA. On today's show, do the Pacers fear the worst for Tyrese Halliburton? Have the Thunder crack the code of the NBA Finals? And where will Kevin Durant end up? All of that and more on today's Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night in 30 minutes. Wes Goldberg here with Tony East. However, you might be tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Jam-packed show for you today. Before we get to the latest Tyrese Halliburton injury news, we've got the latest reporting around Kevin Durant and where he might end up. We have a finals trade, Tony, from your Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers are trading the number 23 pick in the draft this year and the rights to Mojave King to the New Orleans Pelicans for their own 2026 first-round pick that the Pelicans had previously acquired. So tell me what's going on here. Why are the Pacers doing this? Why are they doing this now? What's going on?
Yeah, they're copying the Nuggets, making a draft or a final. As you remember, covering that finals when they played the Heat, making a finals trade 2 years ago. Look, the Pacers have Benedict Mathurin off the bench. Jarris Walker not even playing hardly when he's healthy. Johnny Furphy not playing at all, period. They have enough young stuff now, and they're good now. They don't need another pick in the immediate. There is no value for them having the 23rd pick right now. Obviously, first-round picks are first-round picks, but they don't have a 2026 first, or at least they didn't. They traded it away in the Pascal Siakam trade. And so they were at this weird spot where they didn't really need a pick this year, but getting their pick back next year really helps them with Stepien stuff because they couldn't trade their 26 or 27 first because of the way that works, where you can't trade picks 2 years in a row. Now, by getting their own pick back, they can trade any pick from 2026 onward, so long as it satisfies Stepien stuff. They clean up their salaries a little bit because they get off of some salary with the pick they just traded away. There's a million little reasons it made sense for them to get a pick next year instead of this year. And for a team that's trying to be good now, a 23rd pick does little to help them in the near term.
Home run trade for the Pacers, right? You unlock all your picks for the next 7 years. You clear out some salary that could help potentially with re-signing Miles Turner, right?
Yep.
Is this move geared towards the Turner thing as much as it is the Stepien stuff you were talking about?
I think it's more of the flexibility with trading picks because I think they would be comfortable being a tax team next year to some extent because they still have to fill the roster spot and the 23rd pick's not like that expensive. So they don't save that much money. Obviously, every dollar helps. So it's not nothing there. It does help a little bit, but I think it's more about the flexibility and just the fact that, like, what's the 23rd pick going to do? What does it help you to have that guy playing for the Noblesville Boom all season?
It's like I said, home run. It makes a lot of sense for New Orleans. You get another pick in this draft. I don't know how much they really cared about having a 2026 pick coming from Indiana next year. I think it had top 4 protections attached to it.
Right.
So the Pacers are awesome. They're the Eastern Conference Finals last year, NBA Finals this year. You're probably not expecting that to be any better than 23. So you say, okay, let's just take the 20. This might be the best this pick gets from Indiana in a while. Let's just go ahead and kind of swap out 2026 for 2025 and get the number 23 pick in this draft. Maybe there's somebody that the Pelicans have their eye on also. Or the Pelicans could potentially use their picks to move up in this draft now. They have a little bit more ammo. So I think it makes sense for both teams. But I don't want to bury the lead here. The biggest news of the day, the Tyrese Halliburton injury news. He's believed, according to Shams Charania from ESPN, to have suffered a strained right calf, and he's going to undergo an MRI to determine the severity of the strain in the coming days. Game 6 is on Thursday night. How do you think this plays out, Tony?
Man, I mean, the way Shams phrased it on TV, he said this was a regular season gamer. Even a first-round game, there's doubt he would even play. It's the finals. Tyrese Halliburton told us last night in Paycom Center that he's playing in Game 6. Like, that's his intention. That's his goal. You do everything you can to get to the stage as a player. He's there. It's honestly very scary to be playing through muscle things in the finals, as we've seen in the past. But That's a risk he has to decide that he's willing to take, because look, if an MRI reveals a severity that's too much for him to do the risk, like maybe they opt out of playing. But my suspicion would be that he will play limited, and they will try everything they can to make him feel as good as possible and play, because look, he wasn't very good in game 5. I don't think anyone would say that he was. And one of his first plays in the second half, he drives in the lane, he turns around, and he tries to go back to the 3-point line, and he doesn't move. He just passes it out. And that's like a move we've seen on the shot he hit over Ty Jerome and the shot he hit against the Knicks at the buzzer that bounced up really high, that he can fly back out to the 3-point line turning around like that. And like, he just got no traction off the ground. And that was when it was like, I knew he was hurt because of the limping and everything, but that's when it was clear to me, like, oh man, this is really impeding his basketball ability. And for a lot of the game, he was like a decoy in the corner. Like TJ McConnell came in for him with 2 minutes to go in the first half. There were just a lot of signs that it was obvious that the Pacers were playing around him instead of through him. And so now it's more clear what this is. It's a muscle thing. It's not this whatever like lower leg ankle thing that he was dealing with after game 2. He's their best player. He is their identity setter. Like, this is a huge deal. I think that if he plays, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of value they get out of him. Like in game 5 specifically, he still had value as a decoy. Like Lou Dort was still guarding him pretty far away from plays. He's a good catch and shoot player, but there was no notion going into that game that he was already dealing with the injury. I'd be curious how they change their defensive game plan on Tyrese Halliburton if they go into the game knowing that he's already banged up, and how that allows the Thunder to improve their defensive game plan against what the Pacers would be. So it's a huge deal. He's their best player. Without him, they are certainly less on offense. Like, it hurts every single player on their team because he sets up everybody with passing too. So if he plays, they're a worse team. If he doesn't play, they're also a worse team. And there's really no way around that for the Pacers. My guess would be, given his comments, that a severely limited version of Tyrese Halliburton will play in game 6.
He said, if I can walk, I can play, right? And so he's going to be out there. I can't imagine that. I mean, look, they're down 3-2, right? I mean, this is it. It would be maybe even one thing if this were game 2 of the NBA Finals. But the fact that this is an elimination game, it feels like he at least has to try to go out there. And if for whatever reason this thing goes south early, maybe he gets pulled or whatever, but he's got to at least try to go out there. And I do think that there's going to be, you could argue that if he's dealing with this thing, the best he'll be is at the beginning of the game. So do you throw him out there as fresh as he can be,
right?
Hope that you get a little Halliburton boost, a boost from your home court advantage. Maybe you can get out to an early lead, and then you can hopefully ride Pascal Siakam, and maybe, Miles Turner and Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith start making some jump shots.
Yeah, like
maybe you could ride
the
that
other thing I think
7.
people will forget is Halliburton got hurt in the conference finals last year, and Nembhard went crazy. Like, he was amazing against the Celtics in those games last year. I don't think it's reasonable to expect him to like go ham against this awesome Thunder defense, but like, that's you just described what the Pacers have to hope can happen, is like some home crowd magic with the Nembhard Siakam game, and then role players make threes and they can force the game 7, and then everybody would think the Thunder are favorites because they're the home team and they're the better roster. But like, everybody would squint and do the thing where they go, well, it's a game 7. You just never know, right? So like, that's their hope if he doesn't play. And if he does, it's obviously that they hope he's somewhat effective and everybody else plays well around him.
What did you see at the end of the game? I mean, obviously we saw the fact that he was being used as a decoy. Even he goes 0 for 6 on jump shots. I rewatched him this morning, and it's major hesitation, clearly uncomfortable taking those shots. Is there any way that he could just be better? Is it as simple as, well, he wasn't planning on getting hurt, and maybe now he can have a strategy for being hurt and playing hurt?
Maybe so. I mean, the problem is that they play so fast, right? Like, he's required to be zippy and moving and cutting and flinging the ball around. And it's like, that's like the hardest possible way to play if your calf is hurt, right? If any muscle in your leg is hurt. So, I mean, the like theory of the case would be like, slow it down, walk it up, set some screens, see what you can do. But then, like, what are the Pacers? What is their ethos if that's how they're playing? So I guess, can he be catch and shoot corner guy who like lifts every so often when someone else is driving or some other actions going on? Like, yeah, maybe you can better plan to use him in that way. Like, can he be a screener for Pascal Siakam? Maybe. Like, are you really trying to make Tyrese Halliburton slam some screens on a banged up calf? Well, it's the finals. Like, maybe you should try it. So yeah, I think there's something to that. Like, trying to find cutesier little ways to use him that aren't his strengths, but that might be better than the version of him you're getting anyway.
Well, let's talk about the Thunder's perspective. They've won 2 straight games here of the NBA Finals. Have they cracked the code? Tony knows what the Pacers are talking about. We'll talk about all of that and more next here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live. And it's this year's matchups that are already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off. And with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. I was just on the app, and Zone Deals were offering 10% off exclusive Zone Deals for the FIFA World Cup matchups. I love that I can see my exact view before I buy, even if I can't pronounce the name of the event. No surprises. The app makes it ridiculously simple. 2 taps and I am done. And with the Game Time guarantee, you know that you're getting the best deal. If you find a better price in the same row or section, they'll credit me 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. The best way to support the show. Subscribe on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. The Thunder are up 3-2 in these NBA Finals. They've won 2 games in a row. Tony, I don't know about you, but it just Game 4, or the fourth quarter of Game 4, and then the entirety of Game 5, the Thunder dominated. They just look like maybe they have the Pacers figured out. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, the answer is that they're just maybe better, right? Like that fourth quarter for the Pacers was crushing in Game 4. All of Game 5, like their style was just more effective. Like the figuring it out part of this is so interesting because the way people talked about the series coming in was like less so a clash of styles and more so like, look at this, like it's a new NBA. Look at these teams with depth and that play fast. Like all these old adages about the playoffs are not true. And so the actual strengths of the team were kind of pushed to the side as that became more of a narrative. And I thought that was interesting and compelling. And when they were tied at 2, it was. But the part of that was really glossed over is that the specific stuff the Pacers are good at and that got them here is a really fast offense that doesn't turn it over much and gets into the paint. Guess what the Thunder try very specifically to not let their opponents do, right? They try to turn you over a million times. They never let you get in the paint. And they try to slow you down and make you mess up. And so for a while, when these teams were punching at full health, it was like that was the clash of styles. It's like these teams' strengths pulling and pushing like a tug of war at each other on that end of the floor. And so slowly and surely throughout the series, you'd see the Pacers get better, get inside to side, and their offense felt a little better. And then the Thunder would force a billion turnovers, and their defense looked a little better. And slowly but surely, by the end of Game 4, you could see the Thunder defense be a little better. The Pacers are undefeated this playoffs when they score 110 or more, and they have not won a single game when they don't reach 110, right? Their offense is very critical to their success. They have not hit 110 since Game 3. They were very close in Game 4 until their offense sputtered at the end of that game, like you're saying. So I think the Thunder have just gotten slowly better and more principled and more solid at kind of containing the Pacers and their ethos and their style throughout the series. And you've really saw it as Halliburton's gotten limited. Like they're not as scared of really anything. And so the Pacers, who had been a great jump shooting team throughout the playoffs, in the absence of that, like that's how you would in theory get past that. They don't have a lot of answers for this amazing Thunder defense on this stage. And maybe they can come up with some with different talent and availabilities, but they haven't been able to so far.
Yeah, the Pacers are the best shot-making team of the playoffs, and it's been a rough last few games for Nembhard, Nesmith, and Miles Turner. It's been a rough series for Miles Turner in terms of shot-making.
Yeah.
Without a 100% Halliburton in Game 6, they're going to need those guys to step up. Pascal Siakam has been incredible the entire series, but he needs help. And if Halliburton's going to be a decoy, well, then the guy he's being a decoy for, have to hit the shots, right? And there was a number of shots I thought in Game 4 or Game 5 rather, that Halliburton set up quite nicely, and TJ McConnell set up quite nicely, and Siakam were setting up where it felt like those were makeable shots. The shots that they were making throughout the entire Eastern Conference side of the bracket, they just aren't making right now. But you also have to credit this Thunder defense. I thought it was weird the first 3 games of the series. They weren't bad, but they weren't at that level, right? And I gave so much credit to the Pacers of, wow, they've really defanged that Thunder defense here a little bit, but they have figured out a way. They found their fangs, man. Like, they have been awesome. Again, fourth quarter of game 4, they take over, force a bunch of turnovers late in that game. Stonewall, they keep the Pacers from scoring for, what was it, like 3 or 4 straight minutes or something in at the end of game 4. And then in game 5, they did all of that stuff for the entire game, and it was the first time these last 2 games where it felt like, oh, the Thunder were the best team from start to finish in 2 straight games. And now I feel like maybe they've perhaps figured out. And by the way, if they haven't figured out the Pacers, it's probably still going to work out for them because Halliburton's hobbled.
Yeah, the Pacers were better for a lot of game 4, but when they were worse, they were like so drastically worse, right? Like, it wasn't close.
Yeah.
The thing that happened in game 5, and I asked players about this after the game, and they all actually seemed to agree, which made me feel a lot better about it, is that was the first time in the playoffs that I felt like a team sped the Pacers up, which is hilarious to say because they're all about pace, pace, pace. Every time they lost in the first 3 rounds, like, we got to play faster. We got to play faster. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, you want to be the pace Pacers. It's great. And it worked. Like, everybody shut up. They should play faster, not slower in the playoffs. That was the first game, and everybody saw it. Like, Pascal Siakam turned into Butterfingers, and their passes were inaccurate, and their transition was sloppy, and their spacing was goofy. And Tyrese Halliburton being, hobbled was a part of it, but, like, they were not comfortable at their normal, typical pace. And that's credit to the Thunder because they did it without, a lot of times teams speed up because they're getting, like, trapped or double teamed or full court pressured. Like, it was just like routine good defense. And the Pacers, for whatever reason, were like, oh, crap. Like, what do? We got to play fast. They're like thinking about playing fast so hard that it got them out of rhythm. And they were playing too fast. It was so weird. I've never seen that happen to them.
Right.
And they were so out of rhythm. They were down 10 at the end of the first quarter. They lost the game by 11, right? Like, I'm not making the case, but, like, you could say they were even for the last 3 quarters of that game when they really settled into their typical pace of play. Like, that's not a crazy thing to say. The scoreboard says that's true, right? So I think that early part of the game where they were so focused on whatever it was, playing a certain way, responding to the loss, because they hadn't lost back-to-back games since March 10th. That was the first time in game 5, responding to a loss, making their adjustments, whatever it was. It felt like they were thinking so much about doing those things and not really playing naturally at their tempo. And that is all the credit to the Thunder defense, who play defense in such a way that they are not reacting to what the other team does. They're making the other team react to them. And that's where I think the Pacers have kind of fallen behind in the adjustments in this series, is they are now the reacting team, and it's making them think too much.
The key word there is think, right? When you hear people say, oh, they're playing too fast, you associate playing too fast with tempo, pace, and all these things. That actually has very little to do with it. It's the decision-making process. And for when the Pacers are at their best, like you just said, they are dictating tempo in that they're deciding what the next move is, and the defense has to react to them. And the Thunder just have them a little bit behind. They've got them on their heels offensively, which is strange. But you saw it a number of times in game 5 where, Halliburton or somebody is going to make a kick-out pass, and Gilgeous-Alexander or Jalen Williams or somebody is just they're already moving into the passing lane as the pass leaves the Pacers ball handler's hands, and that's no bueno for the Pacers. I have a stat here.
Oh, I love stats.
Kind of shows the way that the Thunder, I think, have kind of found their footing defensively and are able to now set the tone and do the things that they want to do defensively, which is create turnovers and win the turnover margin, which is what the Thunder want to do overall. Game 1, the Thunder won the turnover margin by 7. Game 2, they lost the turnover margin to the Pacers by 3. In game 3, they lost the turnover margin. I'm sorry, this is points off of turnovers, not the turnover margin. It was points off of turnovers, the stuff off the turnovers. +7, -3. In game 3, they were -7 in points off of turnovers. In game 4, they were +2 in points off of turnovers. And then in game 5, +23. 32-9 in points off of turnovers. Like I said, first time where it really felt like the Thunder were the Thunder that we saw for so much of the season.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's funny that you go through that because there's 2 things that were true. Like in game 1, the Pacers had a bunch of turnovers, but the Thunder weren't scoring off of them. That's where the Thunder have really ratcheted up their defense to offensive ability as the series has gone on. The other part of this that's an interesting stat to me is, like, the Pacers will have 23 turnovers in the last game, and the Thunder do it on like 12 or 13 steals. That means there are 10 turnovers that are just like brain fart, offensive foul, throw it out of bounds, crap nonsense that it's just like, what's going on there for the Pacers, right? And so they're able to survive that kind of stuff when their transition defense was sublime early in the series. But as the Thunder have gotten better at that gap that you're describing, where their transition play has really elevated and taken a step up and let them score points off of those turnovers. Because let's face it, I've said this every week with you. You and I have been kind of bemoaning their half-court offense the entire playoffs, even though they're so good at so many other things. Then they can score efficiently enough to like be comfortable enough to win against everybody, right? So that's been a huge part of this too. And the Pacers want to be this low turnover team. They've been great at it against everybody but the Thunder. Just like every other team that takes the microphone and everybody says, what do you have to do to beat the Thunder? What do they say, Wes? They say, we can't turn the ball over. That's great. Too bad you can't do that. Everybody says that.
Not turn the ball over against
It's the funniest thing to me. It's like every other thing that teams say they want to focus on, they like can do in some way. Everyone that says we don't want to turn it over against OKC, they still turn it over against OKC.
So I don't know if you know this, but there's 2 teams in the finals. All the other teams are in the offseason. Not sure if you knew this.
Pacers are in the offseason. They made a trade.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we already have some trades happening. The big trade, though, Kevin Durant. Where is he going to end up? We're going to talk about that next here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode is brought to you by Olipop. Olipop is a new kind of soda made for the people who love the classic taste of soda but want something that supports their health. With just 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can, Olipop is reimagining soda in a way that's better for your gut. Traditional sodas are loaded with sugar, 39 grams in a regular Coke, 44 grams in an orange Fanta. Olipop flips the script with just a fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and gut-friendly ingredients like OliSmart, a blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's soda that tastes like the real thing, but actually does something good for your body. Try swapping out your regular soda for Olipop to help you cut back on sugar while getting that nostalgic flavors of soda that you love. You'll notice a difference in how you feel after switching to Olipop, something that I love. Olipop gives you about 1/3 of your daily recommended fiber. That's great for your gut. Get a free can of Olipop. Just buy any 2 cans in store, and they'll reimburse you for 1. Head to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can and find Olipop near you. That's drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. Let's talk about the latest on Kevin Durant. Look, we know where Kevin Durant wants to end up, according to the reporting. Houston, San Antonio, and Miami. Reportedly, though, the Suns are not enamored with any of these offers. Teams like Minnesota, maybe even Toronto, might be trying to get in on the mix there. There's been enough talk about Houston, San Antonio, Miami. Let's assume that none of those teams can get a deal done. They can't reach the Suns' asking price. And the Suns come down a little bit, but not enough where those teams can or are willing to get involved. Is there an off-the-board team that you like that's off of at least Kevin Durant's wish list here that you like for Durant?
The one that is like sprinkled in reports here and there has actually routinely been my favorite, and that's the Los Angeles Clippers. I love that. I love that fit. That's already a veteran team that's going for it. That was like pretty dang good. Like they almost beat the Nuggets, who almost beat the Thunder, who are about to win. And like that's such an easy thing to say. Like they lost in the first round. What am I saying? They're good, man. Like have we ever? Of course, Harden and Durant together would be hilarious. But like that team is good. Ty Lue can coach. They don't have a ton of stuff, but they have like some stuff. Right? They're very interesting as a team to me. That one I really like. I think it'd be hard to cobble together the salaries from the LA Clippers to get Kevin Durant, but that's been the team that I keep seeing that I'm like, dang, that one is the most interesting. Like Minnesota.
Well, let's stop on the. We'll hold on the Clippers thing because
go ahead.
The sticking point's going to be Zubac, right?
Yes, of course. And I wouldn't trade Zubac for Durant like straight up. I don't think.
No, you can't. Right? You can't do that at this point. So did the Clippers come and say, well, we'll give you Norm Powell, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Chris Dunn, and Derrick Jones Jr. We're just going to give you 4 really solid, dependable rotation players. And does Phoenix ultimately say, well, we're not really getting a center we want from anybody. I guess we're also not going to get it from the Clippers, but we kind of like this. Because the other reporting that's been out there is that Phoenix actually doesn't even care about the draft picks part of this. They just want players who can help them compete right now.
Right. And centers,
those 4,
right?
Or at least, and a center.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you're not getting the center from anywhere, you can at least talk yourself into these 4. Maybe, there's something that you could do with a Norm Powell or a Bogdanovic where you could flip one of those players and go get a center from somewhere else.
Yeah, that would be the ideal play for them. And that's why, like, every time I keep reading reports about Kevin Durant, it's like the Suns are doing background on this guy. Like, it's very clearly phrased in a specific way. Like, Are they doing background because they want to know about him, or they want to know about who else might want him because they have
Right.
specific things out there that they would be interested in? And that's where like the veterans package might be appealing to them, not because they like want the veterans. Obviously, they want to be a good team. They have Devin Booker and a coach who's trying to win, but because they can flip that stuff for stuff that makes actual sense to their basketball team in a way that might be harder with picks. Picks are always valuable to other teams. You just never know what anyone's going to want or how people value things that are going to be out there. So I think that's part of the appeal to them is their current trajectory. And they've just always made the most kind of sense to me is like this is a team that is on Kevin Durant's timeline and vice versa. Obviously Minnesota is too, but all the rest of them, like, don't get me wrong. I get why they would want Kevin Durant. He would be good and make them better teams. It's like, are you ready for this now? Is Kevin Durant ready for this now? Like, does this actually make sense? So I like the Clippers fit quite a bit. It feels off the wall in some ways because it's challenging to actually construct the trade, but I just love it.
The Toronto thing annoys me.
Yeah, why?
So the report that's out there is like they might be willing to trade R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, Jakob Poeltl, and the number 9 pick.
Maybe we'll
Kevin
get rid
Durant.
of these guys that are maybe overpaid on our team.
Right. And it would be like doing the thing they did with Kawhi, and I understand why every Raptors fan would be like, we did this with Kawhi, it could work again. Look, that's the annoying part about this to me. Is this just the plan in Toronto? To sign a bunch of players to overvalued contracts, put yourself in salary cap hell, and then get out of it with a 1-year rental for a future Hall of Famer? Is that just Masai Ujiri's master plan every single time? You made fetch happen once. You're not going to make it happen again. I don't understand. It's so annoying. Even if on its face you could talk yourself into, well, this actually does make a lot of sense, and do we really need the number 9 pick? And we kind of already shot Poeltl, and we don't really have a spot for RJ Barrett, and is Emmanuel Quickly really the future? Like, if you think about it and break it down to its parts, it's really not that much, and it creates flexibility for us going forward. But at the same time, nobody forced you to sign all these guys to huge contracts.
Dude, and also, last time they did the Kawhi thing, they were a 55-win team already. Like, they were already really good. This time, it's like...
You were pairing Kawhi with Kyle Lowry, with Pascal Siakam, with Serge Ibaka, then they went out and got Marc Gasol. Like, that was a team that made sense. This would be like, we're pairing Durant with Scotty Barnes. We feel great about it. Why?
Yeah, it doesn't make
it's annoying.
Good sense to me, but they're always poking around on this stuff, right? I don't get it. I mean, I kind of feel the same way about, I mean, you would know better than this. Like, I get why Miami would do it because the East is wide open, but I'm like, are you guys really good enough to feel like you're Kevin Durant away? You know?
Miami does it because they have a star hole on the roster vacated by Jimmy Butler, and they just need a guy.
Don't a lot of teams have a star hole on the roster? The Raptors,
Miami, that's sort of their whole thing, is that they usually have a guy filling that hole.
Yes, that is true.
I think it does make some sense, right? You have Durant as the number 1 option scoring wise. That puts a lot less pressure on Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, who are good players but not cut out as number 1 scoring options on a good team. The Heat have not had a top 10 offense, or they've been in the bottom 10 in offense for the last 3 years running. So there's a level of desperation, at least offensively, to just get out of that and try to loosen things up and do something. They need to switch something up. And if they get, I don't think they're going to trade Khalil Ware for Kevin Durant, but if it's Wiggins and Terry Rozier, or Wiggins and Duncan Robinson, and maybe a little bit piece here, that's probably where their offer is going to top out. And then, it makes a lot of sense. In terms of other places, I don't know. I'm like kind of obsessed with trying to get him to Denver or Milwaukee, but it feels impossible. Dude,
it just feels like a Texas team's going to get him to me.
Could Chicago just do it?
Could they? Yes. Will they? No.
They have like a couple of centers.
Wes, would you consider, if he guaranteed extended, would you consider trading Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant?
I almost would do it knowing that he wouldn't extend, because then it gets me out of the salary cap issue that I am in.
Yeah, but it is a guy taking gap year Celtics who are like, oh,
right. That's the problem.
I could come out next year with KD and Jason Tatum.
Does it feel like you could get? How far could you get in the East if you just put Durant in the Brown spot and you've got Durant, Derek White? You probably still have to lose one of Holiday or Porzingis.
Yeah.
Still doesn't feel like you're going that far.
I have a lot of fun every time there's a good player being like, what if the Celtics traded for them? It's just my new bit because Jason Tatum.
Yeah, I thought that would go away when they won the championship, but we still do this every time for the Boston
Tatum
Celtics.
got hurt. Now I can do it. Like every player who's available. I'm like, oh,
Right.
the Celtics. That'd be funny.
But I don't know if you heard this, Tony. The league is unfair to the Boston Celtics because they won't let them keep their homegrown talent while also keeping all the players that they traded for and gave huge contracts to, which is the part that's always lost.
People keep saying this. I'm like, you can keep the guys. You just have to deal with the penalties. Your team is not willing to deal with the penalties. This has nothing to do with the PBA.
None of the guys you drafted is the problem here. The problem is that you gave Drew Holiday $32 million a year and Kristaps Porzingis $30 million a year. Those guys you did not draft.
No, that's all fine. Those are good players you have on your team. The problem is you're unwilling to pay them all now.
Right.
You think the rules are too stringent. Okay. That's if the rubber's not worth it, then that's wrong. I think you're wrong. But
it's tough for Boston. I get it, man. It's been a rough. It's got to be rough for Celtics fans winning championships and always getting attention. Jason Tatum, most underrated, disrespected superstar, while it's actually been Tyrese Halliburton the entire time, the most disrespected superstar. Am I doing your work? Am I doing a good impression of Locked On Pacers or not?
You know, I have been making the exact case you just made a lot, but I'm having a rough series.
That's true. Hobbled Tyrese Halliburton is not helping you. All right.
The Lou Dort matchup is not doing any favors for me.
I had him as my defensive player of the year on my fake ballot.
You look very smart.
For once.
Some players are good at guarding Halliburton because they're fast. Some are good at guarding him because they're strong. Lou Dort is both. The only one who is both.
That wraps up Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. For Tony East, I'm Wes Goldberg. This has been Game Night. Thanks for hanging out with us.